Thank you, Andrew. This sounds wonderful, and I think you are very, very talented young man. Uh, I will not be asking you about your age because I sort of already know it. But I think when you play such a piece as uh, I would say, major movement of the major sonata, it's not the first and the second, but it's a major opera movement of this sonata. I think you it doesn't matter what age you just enjoy it tremendously, and I think we all are with this great music. What I would like to do with you, and I know you already had a masterclass with Professor Dmitry Alexeyev on this movement, I'd like to talk more about images that Mozart presents in this piece, and maybe talk about his time and sound of the piano, or maybe not the piano, but another instrument that they had produced at that time. So, what instrument do you think this piece is written for?
Um, a forte piano.
Forte piano, okay, it was emerging by that time, but also maybe to some extent to maybe a harpsichord because it was still in the mind of composers at that time. And fortepiano would probably be a key word. And there is a number of great musicians and pianists who attempted to resurrect this movement on the original pianos. Maybe not necessarily decent, because this is more into the area of Sturm und Drang, more into Haydn favorites. But exactly this movement, and the result was really stunning. They could really hear it slightly bit more transparent than we would get on the modern piano. The main difference, of course, aside from the pedals that were added, is the frame. And at that time, they didn't have such big and heavy steel frame as we have today. So the sound was slightly bit more transparent, and transparency and pureness is the two key words that I would like you to, write down maybe at the beginning of this piece and keep it for yourself as a guideline throughout the entire movement. Because you have wonderful fingers and what you do is great. You have all ideas. But sometimes I would like it to be more about, from serenity and philosophical perspective, and also from maybe a bit uh, kindness and world kind of kindness, not necessarily so straightforward. And in terms of sound, I would generally keep it mezzo forte and maybe less than this, maybe piano, mezzo forte, that area. If you can achieve to do all these beautiful sounds that you can produce with this dynamic and slightly make three different colors of piano, three different colors of mezzo forte, mezzo piano, and then one forte when it's needed. And you have to pick the place where it's absolutely needs. Then I think you will benefit from this piece even more. So when you play, start this kind of it's andante cantabile with expression, con espressione, and at the same time it's more simple. So slightly bit pale, maybe this sound. So not like straightforward because everybody's expecting you to go, but it would be too mundane. And then diminuendo. And then and well, I'm glad you said fortepiano because Mozart was already thinking in more terms, not melody and accompaniment, but sort of like unifying them. And in this case, why I like to play the second phrase slightly bit more is because you have this, the G octave. So start it like slightly bit more. And then less, and maybe B flat to piano. You see, and it kind of gives you also clarity, but at the same time expression for different touches and colors for this one. That's one thing. Can you start maybe first phrase one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, much better. The one thing that you need to avoid, make sure that this is goes on the beat. C with the bass. You emphasize the obviously the pinky because this is the most expressive note, but the C, the embellishment, it goes straight with the F. That's why you need to articulate very well with the top note. Now, the question whether you would really play this note loud because it's a third, it's really a question. I don't think you should because it approaches here, but at the same time, don't accent. It's a follow up, still follow up after the A. Can you try? Right, much better, and maybe not so articulated. If you keep them just above the key, as much articulation is needed to produce the sound, but at the same time, not like you remember, you're not a keyboardist in this movement. You're an opera singer. I can't really sing, but you get the feeling. So slightly bit different. And then very important, rests in the left hand. I'm not sure what edition you have, but I have a your text edition. And here it's very important to take off your pedal on all rests. You see, it contributes so much to this texture, and this texture needs so much transparency with in here that if you don't do it, for example, this, you more have to the octave than the top note. You better hold it with the hand, but the pedal goes off. See, I'm leaning with my uh, finger, reaching this note. Okay, and then after this, off again. Hand goes off, pedal goes off, and then portamento. Do not play this. More soft than staccato. Okay, one last time beginning, and then we'll move on. Okay, and then maybe you can change your touch a little bit here, more like more crisp. It's more interesting because he didn't write. This is legato, and suddenly you have this solo of the right hand, which is far apart. It's almost two octaves apart, and then supported more with this voice. Left hand is I would play deep legato, and this is opposite. Right. Be very careful with how much staccato and how much you put into this, because if it's too articulated, it sounds very artificial. And what you want to observe in Mozart particularly, not even so much in Beethoven and Haydn and Schubert, but in Mozart is a tremendous sense of taste. And when you can achieve that it sounds pure, then you have the opportunity to make sure your touch is corresponds to the Mozart purpose. So it is too articulated. It's like toy soldiers walking, but it's more like voice. Yes, and one another subtlety. When you finally reach this section, this is soft. But the second time, no diminuendo, because the phrase continues. And then you go here, right? Again, 30-second note rest. I'm sure you have it there. I know that left hand continues its line, but divide it just a little bit. Maybe make a small little comma. Can you try maybe? Okay, Andrew, I'm sorry to stop you again. Can you include a bit more wrist? There are moments when you have to keep your wrist still, such as here. You arrive to this note and don't motion by wrist unless you resolve, right? On A, wrist goes up and it helps you to play it softer. That is clear. But here, different sound, param, 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 like you rinse in water of your hand. Well, second time, slightly bit more sound when you're and keep it one line. So don't play any accent in the middle. Build it up. is another interesting thing. He keeps the notes variety E, F, G. This is not the melody, but it's very important in a voice, which you absolutely need to keep here. And it's a needed addition here. Can you try? Yes. And then what is significant about this particular measure 14, the downbeat? What is important here?
As a forte.
It's a chord. It's a chord which is very unusual, cadential chord so early. So make sure you actually build up to it more, because so far I asked you to have a very reserved sound. And then not so much diminuendo. You still continue playing this, and then diminuendo slightly bit after this, right? I have to say that we have almost here our next my next student who is Esther, but I want to give you 10 more minutes because we started very late. I was so much fascinated by Chopin's ballades that we started late. So Esther, I want to ask you if it's possible to start 10 minutes late, and then we end also 10 minutes late. Let's finish this beautiful movement. Okay, sorry. You don't really feel the significance of this high note. For Mozart times, it was way too high, probably the highest note you can almost get, and it was existed on fortepiano. You know, Bach even transposed his concerto from Vivaldi transcription of from D to C, just because his organ wouldn't reach beyond the C. And now you have F. That's very high. So you really need to approach this more, not fortissimo, of course, but and that's why you need a comma to start. Right, here again a bit. This is all good. This voice, you can play it more inventive, and again, not so much with this staccato. Staccato is too short the way you play it. Why is it so important not to overdo here? Because after that is a short staccato, and it's more in the essence of much more you. This is you play it more cute, right? right? And you really have to have fun. But before, opera, Don Giovanni speaks, po, 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 ha, ha, ha. Cute duet, right to the left hand. Right, good, good. Much better. Bravo, bravo. It's a pleasure to teach you. The only thing is think a bit more about story with these 30-second notes. They never notes just for the sake of notes. Every note in Mozart has a meaning. I would advise you to, when you practice, to play them separate with millions different intonations. It depends how you turn it. Well, this is sort of like passing by intonation. Not really succumbing on diminuendo, but more. And there are two voices. Yes, I'm not sure if you do it, but there is also one important detail. I recommend you to play 1-5, then keep the top note with 2, change 1 to 2, and keep physical legato because you will need to change pedal. And it needs to support this. Can you try from here? Okay, sorry, it's not good playing. The rest is done for your trill to really lose its power. It contributes to diminuendo. Then also, please show a little bit more here. At the last moment, this is everybody. And then start this section. I would really recommend you to change the pedal here on every note. Because it gives you necessary connection, clear pedals, and then forte piano. Not necessarily forte piano on the same note, but it's more like. And not so much crescendo yet. You will do it more when the theme returns second time. Can you do from here? Yeah, actually not bad. Make sure you don't divide your phrase here. You see, the clear sign of Mozart really wants one big slur and one big phrase, and it's because he keeps stepping the same harmony. That means you have to be really careful with not to overdo staccato and not divide the phrase. I'm feeling towards first, fourth, and here you can do much more than you do actually. It's like you don't recognize that it's a big moment. Remember here, first, first time you had second inversion in F. Now you have a cadential chord. So it's a big thing. And then you go away. And then bring out the left hand because it supports the right hand trio. And again, pure sound. And emphasize later. Okay, I think it should be a good overview of this piece. I gave you very little time. Certainly, I'm able to give you more time and lessons. You can always connect with Natalie with this. And I was a pleasure to teaching you with this piece. Bravo, and I hope it will improve and you will play it in a big concert hall one day.